This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris. Welcome to the Humble Bottle.
Well, the Humble Bottle is now moving to Italy, and we're going to be learning all about some of the regions of Italy and some of the wonderful wines they produce. You know, Italy is responsible for making about 1/5 of the world's wine, and it is such a popular drink in Italy. Grapes are grown practically everywhere, and there's more than 1 million vineyards that are under cultivation. Most of the winemaking in the country is done in modern wineries, but there still are villagers who make wine for their own use, and they still crush the grapes with their bare feet because they believe that this ancient method still makes the best wine. Right now, there are 20 different wine regions in Italy, and the country has developed a classification system for their wine that reflects the current realities of winemaking in their country. And let me show you what that is. Now, the wine classification in Italy, there's 4 classes, and they fall under 2 categories. One is the category of table wines, and the other is quality wines produced in a specific region. Now, the first classification we're going to look at as VDT, and this is under the table wines, and it basically denotes that the wine is from Italy. So if you're looking at a bottle of wine and it has VDT on it, you know the wine was definitely made in Italy. Now, the second class under the table wine classification is IGT. And what that means is that the wine is from a specific region within Italy. And this class was created for some of the new wines of Italy. There were winemakers that had sort of cast aside the strict old wine laws that were in use, but they were making wines that were of great quality, so they created the IGT class for those wines. Now, the last 2 classes fall under the quality wines classification, and that's the DOC and the DOCG. Now, wines that receive these 2 classifications tell you that the wine has been produced using grapes that come from a very specific zone in the region, and they have had to go through very strict standards. And then the DOCG means that plus the wine has also had to pass a blind taste test for quality. Now, in this series on Italian wines, we're going to be visiting a number of regions in Italy, but the first one I wanted to visit was Tuscany. Now, Tuscany is known for its red wines, specifically its Chiantis, and it's also known for a wonderful Italian dessert wine called Vinsanto. And if you ever find yourself with a bottle of Vinsanto, I have a wonderful podcast that I did where you bake peaches, and the basting liquid is Vinsanto, and it's just a wonderful dessert wine to have on handy, and you can also add it in your cooking. Now, the grape that all these wonderful Chianti wines are made from is called the Sangiovese grape, and this is Italy's claim to fame. It is the pride of Tuscany. In some ways, Sangiovese is to Chianti like Cabernet is to Bordeaux. Both form the base of wines that are normally blended with other varietals, and both by themselves sort of share a certain distinctive elegance and complexity when they're well made. Now, because the area where the Sangiovese grapes are grown is very hot and dry, it takes careful cultivation and very careful winemaking techniques to produce really excellent wine from this grape. And typically, Sangiovese grapes make a medium to full-bodied wine. Now, Chianti is synonymous with Tuscany, and the Chianti zone is Tuscany's largest classified wine region and produces over 8 million cases of wine a year. The region of Chianti is roughly 6 times the size of the Napa Valley. Chianti was historically associated with the squat bottle that was enclosed in a straw basket, and that little straw basket was called a fiasco or a flask. But the fiasco is only used by a few winemakers now. Most Chianti is now bottled in traditionally shaped wine bottles. Chianti is considered an everyday drinking wine and really should be consumed within just a few years of release. Now, another type of wine you might run into is also Chianti, but it's called Chianti Classico. Now, this wine is also produced in the Chianti area. It has much stricter rules and regulations than just a straight Chianti. It has to be made of a minimum of 80% Sangiovese grapes, and the rules of the Chianti Classico Consortium are very rigid and very strict. And one of the ways you can tell you're getting a Chianti Classico wine is, if you notice in this photo here, up in the top there's a little seal of a black rooster, and it's that black rooster logo on the neck of the bottle that tells you that it is indeed a Chianti Classico wine. Now, there's one other type of wine that comes from Tuscany that I wanted to mention to you, and these are called Super Tuscan blends. Now, Super Tuscans are an untraditional Italian wine that uses Cabernet Sauvignon as a blend with Sangiovese grapes. Now, the term Super Tuscan describes any Tuscan red wine that does not adhere to traditional blending laws for that region. They also fall under the class of IGT, and in fact, IGT was created to recognize their quality. Now, Chiantis can go anywhere from a medium to a full-bodied wine, so they really match well with things that come from the Tuscan region, things like red sauces, red meat, Parmesan cheese, poultry, lamb, lasagna, veal chops, anything that has a really sturdy flavor, these wines pair beautifully with.
For more information on this episode, go to our website and visit the Humble Bottle show notes. Also, if you have any questions or ideas for this show, send us an email. Thanks for watching. Cheers!